So today I thought it might be a good idea to try and give you guys a tour of the farm, because I haven't really done that. I've only really ever spent time, I think, taking videos, around a couple of the volunteer plants that have grown up out here and the chicken coop. And I thought, well, I've not really taken any film of the property. So for those that don't know, I've got 7 acres. It's mostly all fenced in. There was the family that lived here before me. They raised goats and chickens, and they had a dog. And so the good thing is most of the fencing is already in good shape, and a lot of the bones are already here. But I'll go around, take some video of the rest of the property, and kind of give everybody the grand tour. Alright, so back here we've got our barn, which is nice. It's got kind of a built-in enclosed lean-to on the side. My hope is, well, first off, one of the doors is not hung well. In fact, they probably both need to be redone. But the door on the right is actually sitting on the ground. The hinges, I don't know if you can tell, but the hinges are actually off of it. But the door on the left is still hung, but it's same hinges, same screws, same issues, I think. So at some point I'm going to get out here and rehang both of these doors. But all the bones are good. A little bit of a problem with the wood bees inside, but we'll take care of those guys hopefully before things get too out of hand. But other than that, there's no rot or anything. It's a nice big barn, and I'd like to get a tractor, and so I think this will be its home, because frankly, it's the only place I've got that's big enough to keep it covered, and I don't want to sit it outside if I can avoid it. But this is about 2/3 back on the property from the house. Got all this wooded area that I think I'm going to leave it wooded, but I am going to try to clean it up so that it's usable woods, and that way maybe I can help graze it. My only concern is that I've got a lot of black cherry trees back here, so I have to figure out how to keep my animals safe from those things. Because I didn't know this beforehand, but my grandfather had told me, and I've since learned that the leaves and stuff, once they break down, I don't remember what exactly it is that's in them, but it's poisonous to the animals. And so a lot of animals tend to leave it alone from what I've read, but I don't want to take any chances, so there's that. But yeah, so this is kind of the first stop back here, and then we'll move on and I'll show you the rest. Back here's the farthest point from the house. I've got a pretty great neighbor back here. They're real friendly. The areas back here that aren't kind of cleaned up, these are actually a bunch of wild blackberry patches mixed in with a whole lot of Bradford pear trees, which if you're not familiar with Bradford pear trees, quite frankly, I think they're the worst. And, well, I have a whole line of them back here. So I'm waiting for those things to ultimately probably split out and fall on my fence one day, and we'll take care of it then. But in the meantime, you know, I've got my own. But yeah, so these are all wild blackberry patches. The first time I had my grandfather up to help me kind of clean up, we bush hogged this whole field. It was grown up well over my head. Doesn't look like it had been cut in probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And now it's all cleaned up. There's, you know, it's growing back up because I don't have any way to cut it myself right now. Anyways, long story short, we actually avoided cutting down a lot of the wild blackberries. My children actually really like them, and they didn't like the store-bought ones the last time that I tried to give it to them. But my daughter repeatedly asked earlier this year to come out here and eat off of these, so I figured we'll salvage what we can. But they're pretty much done for the year. So I'm kind of debating on whether or not I want to leave these intact through next year or not. But for the time being, I don't really have a way to get rid of them anyways. So anyhow, this is the back. I'm guessing that this back section is actually about, if I remember right, I did the map. I used a Google Maps and another app to try to measure, and I think this back section, which is also fenced in, I want to say it's about 2 acres of the total. All right, we'll move on. Alright, so we're at the back of the barn now. And this back section is open. I think the previous owners used it as kind of a shelter area for the goats when they were back here in this back section. But when I moved in, it didn't look like it had been used back here in quite a while. And for the time being, I'm actually letting my buddy store his four-wheeler and trailer here because he didn't really have a good spot where he's at, and it's not my way back here. And it's in, you know, it's undercover, so hopefully it isn't getting rained on. So yeah, this is a nice little area back in here. Hadn't figured out quite what I'll do specifically with this section. And we've got this interior wall as well. It was built, it almost looks like they used pallets, but it's a little bit of an unusual design. Again, not 100% sure if this will stay or go, but for the time being, I don't have a good reason to take it out. Alright, so then kind of coming on over to this side. This is the section where I'm planning on putting the tractor. I think it'll fit in here okay. I don't think I'll end up buying a large tractor, but that's still, I haven't really gone and looked at them yet, so we'll kind of see. But they were using this area, I think, for storage. So I did find some hay and a few other odds and ends in here. Definitely looks like they were using that upper section potentially as like a hay loft. They left behind a few things. There's some barbed wire and a few things up there, and then I'm storing some chain link that I was given to me for free, and my plan is to actually use some of this to make some changes to the chain link that's actually in my backyard. So we'll, I'm sure I'll take a video when the time comes, but yeah, so this is the barn. It's in pretty good shape, I think. You know, not a lot of issues. Doesn't seem like it's, you know, getting a lot of moisture in here when it rains, which is nice. And, you know, for the most part, all the wood looks like it's in pretty good shape. Just a few spots where some wood bees have gotten into it, mostly on the back. But I haven't really seen them since I've been here. I'm gonna come out here at some point and try to treat for them. Maybe hang up, like, you know, the brown paper bag, and, you know, it's supposed to look like a hornet's nest, I think it's the purpose. And there's one under my back porch that the last homeowners left, and I haven't seen a single wasp or bee or anything back there, so I think it works. So, all right, we'll move on. So over here is an area that I've filmed quite a bit around, but I don't think I've really shown any part of, you know, this section, because I haven't really had to use a lot of the rest of this yet. But one of the things that was left here is this old chicken tractor, and I've slowly been kind of taking pieces off of it and kind of repurposing. And so some of the, in fact, all of the metal that I'm using on my current chickshaw is actually coming off of this thing. But honestly, one of my favorite parts about the property at this point is actually this building. It being in close proximity to the chickens has been great. You know, this area right here, I actually think might have been used as like temporary housing for the dog that he had. You know, the straw and bedding and stuff in here is relatively new. There is some bird feathers and stuff, but I think he was actually using this basically like a dog house. So the straw that's in here is still pretty clean. So I've actually used a bit of it. And yeah, I don't know, at some point I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with this. It might be, I don't know, potentially storage for food, or well, maybe straw tools. I'm not really sure, but you know, I'll kind of figure that out at some point. Hello ladies, how we doing? You girls checking me out? Yeah, we're just doing a tour. I'm not here to give you anything this time. Yeah, I already gave you a melon this morning. I gotta get in there and weed eat, don't I? Yeah, I gotta get in there and weed eat. You girls have a mess. Anyways, this section I think was more housing for the goats. I'm not sure really what else he was using it for, and clearly he had straw in here, and that's what I've been doing. I put, you know, wood shavings and straw and stuff in here. I don't have any of the food out here yet, but at some point I'm pretty positive I'll just bring all the food and store it out here as well once I get some way to keep critters out of it. There's a little bit of would-be damage in here as well, but I've gotten rid of quite a few of them already, and I've chased off, I think, all the wasps. It's all right. And then this here, well, that's kind of honestly my janky electric fence setup. I didn't really have anything. I wanted to get a hot wire run, and I think I've showed that in one of the videos. So this is kind of temporary right now. It was the closest outlet I had. Oh, I hear more wood bees up here. I have to do something about that. Anyways, so I don't know. I'll fix this up at some point, hang this proper, get things plugged in. But I did get, for one of my next projects, an actual real grounding rod. So that maybe it'll, work a little better. Because I think I'm supposed to be getting, what is that thing? Yeah, about 5,000 volts. I'm really only getting about 3 to 4. So, and I think it's because I'm just using about a foot long piece of rebar. And yeah, that's just not cutting it. So we're gonna update that at some point, but it's doing its job. It's keeping the grass out of the fence over there, so that's nice. And I just keep finding stuff like this. Like this was buried in the chicken pen. The chickens actually scratched and uncovered this. This is the bottom of an old feeder. So, which is probably where that handle that I'm hanging the fence charger from came from. But he actually left me the fence charger too, so I can't complain. What's the saying? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Over here is a nice little storage area. Haven't really used it for anything yet. Not really sure what to use it for. Kind of like the other side. Maybe tools, maybe who knows. But it does have a light in here, and this is where we found our breaker panel. So got all of our electricity out here, and we got water out here. It's an old front door that was repurposed into a shed door, but hey, it works. And then of course my water hydrant, which has been off for a while. So I found the water shut off in the house. It's in the basement for this thing, and it's tapped on both the cold and the hot side with 2 valves shutting it off inside. So the problem is I have virtually 0 water pressure out here, and there is drop from the house, but it's either too far, or maybe the pipe's not big enough. But I'm really thinking there's a leak down at the base of this hydrant, because it's loose. So I've got the water shut off for now, and hopefully we can get that thing sorted. I'd love to have water out here. And of course this area, which I've been in quite frequently, our little roosting area, and these girls want to try to bed in there at night. Not letting them do that. Our 2 chicken coops. One of them's closed for business. The other chicken coop, this is the one they're frequently using, and we probably got eggs in here today already. Yeah, check it out. Got eggs in there. I'll have to come back and get those when I got a free hand. But this area here, I think my suspicion is that this was used maybe as a training or maybe a quarantine area for the dog. maybe maybe a quarantine area for the chickens, but it seems like it's maybe set up as a way to either separate the chickens or the dog. I feel like it might be a good way, when I do get a dog, to actually have him close to the birds, but not able to get to them. So I have to kind of check it, make sure it's good and secure, because I haven't really done that yet. But assuming it is, I think this would be a good spot to shelter the dog close to the livestock whenever I'm not out here to keep an eye on them. So we'll see. If it doesn't work out for that, I may ultimately just end up tearing this out and opening it up. But that's another project for another day. Oh, I'll step in the mess that I give the birds this morning. All right, see you later. I'll be back, girls. I'll come back this evening, check on you. All right. So down the hill here is a pond that, according to the neighbor, it hasn't held water in many years. And the last owner, kind of in passing, mentioned that they had torn up the liner. So one of my goals, it's definitely a longer term goal, is to try to get that pond to hold water again. It's kind of a large pond, so it spans over halfway across the property line. Well, it's within the property, but it's over, it takes up over half the width of my property. So if it won't hold water, if I never can get it to hold water, I may eventually just fill it in, and then I'll have more, open pasture area, or, I can put shelter or whatever else out there, because I don't have a whole lot of options for flat area to build infrastructure. And so most of it, I think, is going to end up being up here next to the house. And I may eventually redo this chicken run. We'll see. I just gotta figure out the best way to lay things out, and that's just something that's gonna take time. Figure out what's working and what's not, and go from there. But yeah, I'll ride down through the pond, and then we'll run back through the wooded area one more time, and then we'll head back up to the house. One other area that I found of great interest is actually this spot. I haven't quite figured out what's going on here, but it appears at some point that this area was worked in order to try to redirect water down towards the pond. And you'll see there's a lot of rock and brick and dig out areas. Of course, it kind of naturally slopes down towards the pond, but look at that. There's shingling, like roof shingles down in here that run, I think most of the junk just kind of ends just past the tree here, but this whole area is full of stuff like that, and I can't quite figure out why, whether they're just trying to redirect runoff, or whether maybe there's a well somewhere on the property. You know, we are in Tennessee. There's a lot of caves and, you know, underground waterways and sinkholes and things like that. So, you know, it's possible that that's, you know, what this was here for, and might also be what's wrong with the pond. Who knows? But one thing that I found a couple weeks back that I thought was really interesting, I gotta see if I can find it over here again. Oh, right here. This guy. So there's a pipe here that's buried, and I have no idea what that's for. And I haven't gotten a camera out here to kind of snake it out and see, but I'd love to try to dig this out and figure out where it's running to. Because like I said, I can't help but wonder if maybe they might have had a well at some point. You know, I don't know where. I haven't seen any other evidence of a well, but maybe. And of course, this straight inch ditch, this runs kind of all the way back down through here alongside these trees, and underneath that, what is that, a black cherry tree maybe? Underneath all these Bradford pears, there's kind of a natural low dip here, and we'll run back through there and circle around, get a good look at it.